Libertarian Rand Paul.
Just to give like a contrast about how this guy was supposed to be all about the Constitution. We just read that, Sam just read that opinion from the Reagan-appointed judge who actually represented what the Constitution is supposed to curtail the state from doing. And then you have, the Libertarian Rand Paul supposedly only listening to what the founders originally intended with his take on the First Amendment. And
let's be clear, I don't think there are any more libertarians left. They'll come back when Republicans are out of power, if that's the case. They'll come back and they'll offer their new version. But Charlie Kirk was a libertarian 5 or 6 years ago. 8 years ago, when I debated him at the beginning of the Trump administration, he was a so-called libertarian. He was, going around to TPUSA with gay people, trying to sort of sell their libertarian vision of America. We used to debate libertarians on this program all the time. Walter Block was a pillar of the libertarian community, an advisor to Ron Paul. He became a Trumpist and flushed most of that down the toilet. I think it took, a couple of months.
Javier
probably.
Milei, welfare recipient.
Here is Rand Paul, supposed libertarian, about the Constitution.
Supposed.
Looking like Harpo Marx.
Yeah, and now it's just like, well, I'm just a crank.
I was assaulted 6-7 years ago, attacked from behind, had 6 ribs broken and part of my lung removed, and still online on a daily basis, people say they wish that it would happen to me all over again. And by sort of making light of what I suffered, they are encouraging other people to do it. And really, that ought to be taken down, and social media ought to be able to take that down. If people are saying this in their workplace, people say, oh, people have a right to
pause it. Incidentally, social media can take that down. They can take that down. When they took down stuff that was a potential danger to people, like denying that COVID exists or denying that the vaccine helped save lives,
or inciting an insurrection.
When that happened during COVID, Rand Paul was the first person to be out there screaming about the First Amendment. Maybe not the first, but he was certainly there. And so and social media can take it down now. They absolutely can. I'm not even sure that's, frankly,
I've been asked to take stuff down before.
I'm not even like, I think it's perfectly legitimate to make fun of Rand Paul and to make fun of the fact that he's been beat up by his neighbor. I do think that explicit calls to violence. I think it's perfectly legitimate for a social media platform to take those down and discourage it. But they can do that right now. His complaint is with social media companies and their terms of service or their lack of moderation. Where was this guy when they were taking down disinformation or threats to Anthony Fauci? And he was complaining about that. Good.
Oh, people have a right to say things. Well, actually, they don't necessarily have a right to say things. Many people have in their contract what we call a moral clause to their contract or a conduct clause. My guess is you have something in your contract that says you have to behave in a certain way. And
when Republicans stop talking about the Constitution and start talking about contracts, you're in a world of hurt.
What's fascinating here is
a libertarian.
He's talking about, first of all, they refuse to acknowledge that is coercive, right? Because you don't need to work there,
right? Yeah.
Right. That's the whole argument. That is not coercive because you don't need to take that job. You entered freely into that, even though we all know that everybody needs to take a job if they want to pay for themselves or feed their kids or whatnot. But he's now basically comparing an employer to employee relationship with, I don't know, everything else. Go ahead.
public. Most people do. If you're in the military, you have a conduct code that you have to adhere to in your speech and the way you present yourself to the public. So I think it is time for this to be a crackdown on people. And like I say, it's perfectly legal and legitimate, particularly if it's part of the contract process.
That's right. And you know,
Wait, what contract process is he talking about now? Is he saying that people should be fired from their jobs if they
Jimmy
criticize
Kimmel.
him?
The new terms of services you have to be nice to Republicans about.
Social media,
Hey,
Jimmy
look,
Kimmel, I don't know.
there can absolutely be a morals clause. There is, in fact, I would have no doubt that there's a moral clause in Jimmy Kimmel's contract. There is definitely. They did not cite that morals clause. We have the chair of the FCC on record saying to ABC specifically about Kimmel, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. That is called not entering into a contract where there's supposed freedom of contract, which is bullshit in and of itself. But even if I was to stipulate that for the sake of Rand Paul's idiocy, this is the FCC threatening, get rid of Jimmy Kimmel because of his joke. And I would bet also in that contract, it's pretty explicit where he can go for that joke. And I would also bet they probably saw that joke before it went on air.
Yeah. This is what those libertarians in the past used to call tyranny.
Yeah, exactly. This is why he was such a supporter of the Second Amendment. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.